A very good evening, aspirants. Welcome to daily newspaper analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 6th of February 2024. Displayed here are the list of news articles that we are going to discuss today. As you can see, we have chosen news articles from diverse newspapers to give you an holistic syllabus cover of UPSC examination. So without much delay, let us get into the first news article discussion. Look at this front page article. This article highlights a case regarding the recent mayor election process in Chandigarh. The Supreme Court has criticized the returning officer for the Chandigarh mayoral polls. The court stated that the officer has defaced the ballot papers, and the judges suggested that the officers should face prosecution for his actions. They expressed that such actions are like murder and mockery of democracy. So in this news article discussion, let us understand about democracy and some of its important features. See, democracy as a term is derived from the Greek word demokratia. It was coined from demos meaning people and kratos meaning rule. It was derived in the middle of the 5th century BCE to denote the political systems then existing in some Greek city-states, notably Athens. In simple words, we can say democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. But this is a narrow definition of democracy. However, in wider sense, democracy is a form of government where the citizenry is powerful. So now let us see some of the essential features of democracy. See, the first one is effective people participation. See, before a policy is adopted or rejected, members of the citizenry have the opportunity to make their views about the policy. For example, our government seeks public opinion on certain bills, and certain rules like environmental impact assessment requires the people in the locality to express their views regarding any new projects. Apart from this, effective participation can also be ensured through direct democratic devices like referendum, preamble, and etc. Second inevitable feature of democracy is free, fair, and frequent elections. See, here citizens may participate in such elections both as voters and as candidates. Here, election is the process in which people decide how they should be ruled. The process should be free of interference, free of corruption, and it should be frequent at a regular interval. Third important feature is equality in voting. See, members of citizenry have the opportunity to vote and select the government. As I said earlier, here in a democracy, all the members should have an equal opportunity to vote with minimal exceptions. This is the feature of inclusive democracy. Another feature is informed electorate. See, members of the citizenry have the opportunity within a reasonable amount of time to learn about the policy and about possible alternative policies and their likely consequences. In India, this is effectuated through robust media architecture. Besides, India also has the RTI Act to keep the citizenry informed. This feature is closely associated with another feature, that is independent sources of information. A source of information that is not distorted will expose the citizenry to the truth. Next important feature is inclusion. See, each and every member of the citizenry is entitled to participate in democracy. This is a feature that is against discrimination and shuns majoritarianism. Next is the fundamental rights. In India, there is well-defined fundamental rights under Part 3 of the Constitution. In US also, this is famously sanctioned under the Bill of Rights. Finally, the freedom of expression. See, citizens may express themselves publicly on a broad range of politically relevant subjects without fear of punishment. This is essential in a democracy because only when the ideas are freely circulated, the pros and cons of the ruler can be brought to the light of the ruled. This in turn will help the citizenry to make an informed decision during the election or during some direct democratic processes. So these are all certain important features of democracy. First is effective people participation, especially in the policy making. Secondly, free, fair, and frequent elections. Thirdly, equality in voting. Fourthly, informed electorate. For example, in India we have RTI Act. Fifthly, inclusion to avoid discrimination and shun majoritarianism. Sixthly, fundamental rights. And finally, freedom of expression. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Look at this news article. As per the article, Central Board of Direct Taxes or CBDT has notified the income tax return ITR forms for filing IT returns. Remember, a schedule has been added in the schedule to report income from cryptocurrencies and other virtual digital assets. which is in short called as VDAs. So in this news article discussion, let us understand what are these virtual digital assets, VDAs, and the regulations regarding it. So firstly, we'll see what is virtual digital asset or VDA. See, the Finance Act of 2022 defines VDA. According to the Act, a virtual digital asset means any information or code or number or token. It can even be any of the foreign currencies as well. But these assets should be generated through cryptographic means only. To put it simply, VDA or the digital representation of a value that can be traded, transferred, or stored electronically. Remember, they include various types of digital tokens like cryptocurrencies, utility tokens, and non-fungible tokens, NFTs. So here comes the question, why VDAs should be regulated. See, firstly, the very design of cryptocurrencies is to bypass the financial system and provide an alternative to regulated currencies. This decentralized model is difficult to be traced or confiscated or frozen by government. Apart from this, they are anonymous in character and not bound by physical borders. This is the first reason why they should be under regulation. Secondly, lack of consumer awareness, market volatility of various cryptocurrencies, and threat to financial sovereignty. Lastly, VDA are often pegged to the US dollars. So they not only replace the Indian rupee but may also lead to more dollarization of the Indian economy, where the RBI and government might lose control. So these are the various reasons why VDAs should be brought under a regulation. Now let us quickly see the steps taken by government to regulate it. Firstly, the budget 2022 imposed a 30% income tax on cryptocurrency earnings, which was started in April 2022. Secondly, from July 2022, rules regarding 1% tax detected at source on cryptocurrencies also came into effect. Apart from this, gifts in crypto and digital assets were also taxed. On continuing its regulations, the government on March 2023 issued a notification bringing transactions involving crypto assets under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The following are the nature of transactions to be covered under PMLA. You can go through it. So in short, VDA service providers or businesses have now become the reporting entities under PMLA Act, and they have to follow similar reporting standards and KYC norms as the other regulated entities like banks, securities, intermediaries, payment system operators, and etc. In case if VDA providers notices any suspicious activities, then they have to report it to the Financial Intelligence Unit India, FIUIND. Finally, the RBI launched e-rupee, which is a central bank digital currency, to effectively regulate the VDA transactions. So these are all certain facts that you have to remember about VDAs. So VDAs are nothing but digital representation of a value that can be traded, transferred, or stored electronically. Cryptocurrencies, non-fungible tokens, NFTs, and decentralized finance are some of the examples of virtual digital assets. Currently, 30% income tax have been imposed on cryptocurrency earnings, and nearly 1% tax is detected at source, and the gifts in crypto and digital assets were also taxed. In March 2023, these VDAs were brought under the PMLA Act as well. So with these learnt points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. This news article discusses the challenges in scheduling a Quad summit in India before the US election, which are going to happen at the end of this year. So in this news article discussion, let us understand few facts about Quad from exam perspective. See, Quad stands for Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. It is a strategic alliance between India, USA, Japan and Australia. It was first proposed by Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in 2007. However, the Quad's progress was hindered when Australia withdrew in 2008 due to China's pressure. In 2012, Abe reintroduced the concept as the Democratic Security Diamond to protect maritime areas from the Indian Ocean to the Pacific. So formally, the Quad was established by these four nations, which includes India, USA, Japan and Australia, in November 2017. Quad members have also indicated their willingness to expand Quad into Quad Plus, that would include South Korea, New Zealand, Vietnam and others. So with this basic understanding, let us now understand its main objectives. See, though it was started as a strategic grouping to reduce China's dominance in the Indian Ocean and Pacific, Quad also has some core objectives. Firstly, it wants to create a rule-based global order. Secondly, it wants to maintain the freedom of navigation. And thirdly, it wanted to build a liberal trade system in the world. Apart from this, based on its recently released statement titled The Spirit of the Quad, it also focuses on other matters like combating the COVID-19 crisis, especially the vaccine shortage, then addressing the risks of climate change, and creating an environment for investment and boosting technological innovation in the Indo-Pacific region. So these are the objectives of Quad. Now let us see how Quad is significant for India. See, for India, the Quad is very important because it helps us to deal with China's growing power and protects India's interest. The Quad helps India to get closer to other powerful countries, and the platform makes it easier for India to voice its concerns and interest on a global stage. This teamwork can lead to more trade opportunities and investments in India, and it can lead to a boost in economy as well. The Quad also focuses on keeping the ocean free for all, which is very important for India's trade. Plus, working together on health issues like fighting pandemics shows India's commitment to helping not just itself but also other countries. So we can say that being in the Quad makes India stronger, more secure, and helps it to make friends with other countries that want a peaceful and prosperous region. So these are all certain important facts that you have to remember about Quad. In this news article discussion, we saw about Quad. It was proposed by Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in 2007, but it was formally established in November 2017 only. Their main core objective is to create a rule-based global order, to maintain the freedom of navigation, and to build a liberal trade system in the world. So these learned points. Now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Look at this news article. This news article talks about India's service sector, which sees a significant increase in the month of January, hitting a 6-month high in the Purchasing Managers Index PMI. So it signals a robust growth and export expansion. So in this context, we shall understand about PMI from a prelims perspective. See, the Purchasing Managers Index or the PMI is a survey that helps understand how the manufacturing and service sectors of the economy are doing. This indicator is produced by 3 main organizations. One is US-based Institute for Supply Management, ISM. Next is Singapore Institute of Purchasing and Materials Management, SIPMM, and S&P Global. See, this indicator uses a scale from 0 to 100. A scale above 50 means these sectors are growing compared to last month. A score below 50 means they are shrinking, and a score of exactly 50 means there is no change. Here you should also note that the PMI is calculated separately for manufacturing and services and then combined to give an overall picture. So if this month's PMI is lower than last month's, it suggests that the economy is slowing down. Since the PMI is shared at the beginning of every month, it is a quick way to get a sense of where the economy might be heading. This recent survey, which is in the news, showed that India's service sector is doing really well. In January, it jumped to 61.8, showing that services in India are expanding quickly, especially with new businesses from countries like Afghanistan, Australia, Brazil, China, Europe, UAE, and US. This boost in services along with the recovery in manufacturing might help India achieve its 7% growth target for the fiscal year. The survey also highlighted a rise in cost for service companies due to higher prices of food, labor, and freight, but the increase in what they charge customers was relatively small. So these are all certain important facts that you have to remember about PMI or the Purchasing Managers Index. You can quote this in your mains answer writing. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. According to the news article, Finance Minister in her interim budget told that the white paper on the mismanagement of Indian economy prior to 2014 and transition post 2014 will be tabled in the parliament. So here comes the question, what does white paper mean? So let us understand that in this news article discussion. So what is a white paper? See, white paper is an official government document that provides detailed information, analysis, or proposal on any matter of public concern. The term white paper has British origin, that is, the birth of the term is credited to the Churchill White Paper of 1922, which is also referred as the British policy in Palestine. Know that for decades, the White Paper's use was restricted only to government-issued documents. But today, similar documents are also issued by opposition political parties, civil society, business and research firms, and etc. Let us see some of the prominent white paper released by Indian government. They include White Paper on Data Protection Framework for India 2017, White Paper on Focused Interventions for Make in India 2020, White Paper on Black Money 2012. So these are the basics of white paper. So what is the objective behind it? See, first objective is to help the stakeholders in a policy. The white paper helps stakeholder to understand an issue, identify roadblocks and find solution to the problems. Secondly, it helps the government to come up with their strategies on prevalent issues and take far-sighted decisions. Thirdly, it is performing important roles like presenting government policy preferences prior to the introduction of legislation, and it is used to test the climate of public opinion regarding any controversial policy issue. Finally, white paper are generally suggestive in nature. Now, there is another kind of paper called the green paper. Let us understand the difference between the white paper and green paper. See, the white paper is a published statement of government policy or strategy. It contains the reasons and details of planned legislative change. On contrary, green paper refers to consultation documents produced by the government on particular policy. To put it simply, green paper is the first step towards a legislation which is aimed at seeking views from interested parties before proceeding the policy. So this is the main difference. The other difference is that the role of public on the white paper is mere less, as it contains only reasons of the planned legislation, whereas the green paper is more open-ended and it encourages to obtain public views and opinion on particular policy. So these are all certain important facts that you have to remember about white paper and what is the difference between white and green paper. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Take a look at this news article. According to the news article, Chennai headquartered space tech startup Agnikul Cosmos is preparing for history. The final preparations for the launch of India's first ever private launch pad and the second ever private rocket is on the cards. Soon both will become a reality. So in this news article discussion, let us understand about Agnikul Cosmos in prelims perspective. See, Agnikul Cosmos was incorporated as a company in 2017 in Chennai. It got its incubation support from IIT Madras and constantly grew in India's private space sector. Remember, it became the first Indian firm to sign an agreement of partnership with ISRO in December 2020. This startup was facilitated under the InSpace initiative. This gives ISRO unprecedented access to expertise and cutting-edge facilities of the startup. Due to its continuous growth, the company is one of the highest funded space startup in India, rising up to $42 million. So this is about the basics of Agnikul company. Now let us quickly go through the achievements of Agnikul Cosmos. See, firstly, in 2021, this company has created history. It has developed the world's first single-piece 3D printed rocket engine called AgilNet. Remember, it was fully designed and manufactured in India. This proved to be a game changer as this engine will be used in its rocket launches. Secondly, in 2022, this company has become the first Indian one to get India's first private launch pad and mission control room in Sriharikota. On putting its base on these developments, it is now getting ready for the maiden launch of the satellite from its own launch pad. This rocket is called Agni-Ban. Remember, the launch has several significance like controlled and guided mission with a vertical launch. To briefly understand about Agni-Ban is a highly customizable two-stage launch vehicle developed by Agnikul. It is capable of taking up to 100 kg payload to orbit around 700 km high, that is in the low Earth orbit, and it enables plug-and-play configuration. So these are all certain important facts that you have to remember about Agnikul Cosmos. It is the first private firm to sign an agreement of partnership with ISRO, and it is the startup which has launched the first private rocket into space. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next part of the news article discussion, which is the preliminary practice question discussion. Now look at this first question. This question is about quad. You have to find how many statements given here is not correct. See here the correct answer is option A because the first statement is only incorrect here. See, Quad is a strategic alliance between India, USA, Japan and Australia. South Korea is not a part of Quad. So this statement is incorrect. Except that all the other two statements are correct as we saw in the discussion. The spirit of the Quad is a statement which contains the objective and vision of Quad released by Quad leaders. So here the correct answer for the question is option A, only one. Moving on, this question is about non-fungible tokens. 3 statements are given. Again you have to find which statement given here is or are correct. See, the first statement says they enable the digital representation of physical assets. This statement is correct. The second statement says they are unique cryptographic tokens that exist on a blockchain. This statement is also correct. Now the third statement says they can be traded or exchanged at equivalency and therefore can be used as a medium of commercial transaction. See, this statement is incorrect because unlike cryptocurrencies, NFT or a digital signature that makes it impossible for NFTs to be exchanged for or equally to one another. That is, they are non-equivalency. Okay. So here the correct answer for the question is option A, 1 and 2 only because the third statement given here is incorrect. Moving on, this question is about PMI. Here the correct answer for the question is option A, only one. See, the first statement given here is incorrect. It is a survey based economic indicator but it shows performance of both services and manufacturing sector. Second statement says it uses a scale of 0 to 100. This statement is correct. Now the third statement says based on the recent data in January month the service sector has seen an all-time low. This statement is incorrect because January has seen the 6-month high in service sector as per the PMI report. So here the correct answer for the question is option A, only one because first statement and third statement are incorrect. Moving on, look at this question. First statement says the white paper refers to government consultation on policy which aims to seek views from interested parties. The second statement says the green paper refers to a published statement of government policy which includes the reason for planned legislative change. See, here neither of the statement is correct. So the correct option for the question is option D, neither 1 nor 2. Here the statements are interchanged. So displayed here are the mains practice questions for you today. Just go through the questions. Try to answer it in the comment section. So with this we came to the end of the news article discussion. If you like the video, hit like, do comment and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now thank you so much for listening.